Good day, viewers, and welcome to another Onside SA soccer show. Paul is on his way back from the UK, and joining me shortly from his Fulham studio will be our regular UK correspondent, Stevie Braham. But we kick off as always with our post-net, last one standing competition, and carnage is not a nice word to say, especially in rounds 3. We had 631 entries go through, 378 went out. There were the 209 on Chelsea, 112 on Arsenal, 29 on Fulham, 13 on Notts Forest, 6 on Wolves, 4 on Leicester City, 2 on Everton and Ipswich Town, and 1 on Tottenham. The successful guys were on Brentford, Aston Villa, Man City, Liverpool, and Newcastle. Now, strangely, of those 253 that are left, there are 184 individuals. So, guys, it's wide open. The picks of the week go to the 2 guys that were on Newcastle, Dave O'Connor and Kevin Rice. While as a Man United man, how can I not mention the 2 guys that selected Liverpool, those being Mally Sewell and Sean Phillips. A special mention, especially if I have spoken about our ladies, the post-net guys and the internationals. So there's several South African guys that are still in, and it is a lot of them. So guys, please bear with me. We start with Drew Trostman, Sarwar Khan, Greg Hess, Julian Nadu, Jordan Story, Jeff Scrooby, Patrice Masson, Ryan Macy, David Hensey, Paul DeVerge, Clive Dunbar, Stan Berger, Tony Bargate, Tony Toms, John Botts, Butch Fitzgerald, Basil Muir, Dean Grove, Ant Starling, Robert and Franz Geet, Athel Dan, Matthew DeToy, Sean Rotason, Dave Harker, Brett McElliott, Sandile Mkize, Craig Samuel, Sasha Dupree, Lalitha Boldani, Umed Sudat, Dylan Hemingway, Rasignan Peramol, Chris Shadwell, Eldon Arul Nathan, Shane Cliff, Steve Murray, Bruce Armstrong, Jeremy Fleming, Gareth Parsons, Reese Louvre, Damian Judge, Greg Van Royen, Jay Naidu, Maboyela Sabeko, Marco and Manuel Govia, Steve Farrer, Robbie Talon, Jesse Nagel, Ajith Singh, Connor McNeil, George Harito, Blaine Hamilton, Tay Statler, Keith Gillespie, Andy Craig, James and Jason Fulks, Lon Lazix, Grant Taylor, Warren Kidd, Graham Anderson, Captain Leon Barnard, Mark Tuttle, William Scott, Lee and Luke Besnard. Now, guys, next Thursday, I'm heading off to take one of our winners to the Tottenham Arsenal game. I will need your picks by Saturday, 12:30 South African time or 11:30 UK time. Guys, well done. There's looks like plenty of easy picks next week, so please don't let me down. Anyway, Steve, hate to say it, but Chelsea saw the end of you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I was sort of I had second thoughts about whether to pick them, and then when I heard they were winning, I thought, okay, that will be fine. But so be it. I got through on Tottenham. It's only Tottenham that let me down, but
Tottenham
there we go.
And Chelsea taking more people out than anybody. Steve, what is going on with this financial fair play? I see Leicester. What did they do to get off the points deduction?
So basically, I mean, they're very, very clever, their lawyers. So what happened was they extended their year end, and then by the time they produced their accounts, the Premier League had obviously not realised that by the time that they produced the accounts, which went to the end of June. The Premier League were trying to say, well, you had 3 years worth of losses, and Leicester said, well, actually, we were already relegated out of the Premier League by the time that our accounts were prepared, and therefore we're not bound by the Premier League rules. And basically, they got away with it, and there's nothing the Premier League can do. I think they're looking at changing the rules, but with hindsight, they can't go back retrospectively. So Leicester, who were about £20 million over, basically, it was money well spent on their lawyers.
So they come with a scheme. The other one that amazes me is with Chelsea. I know they've caught Man City with trying to get sponsors from sister companies, but how can they sell the properties?
Well, so evidently in Europe, you can't do this. You can't sell assets to an associated entity. I mean, it would be sort of added back. But the Premier League didn't adopt those rules a few years ago. So basically, Chelsea, who were £60 million over, they sold their 2 hotels owned by Chelsea to another company in the Clear Lake Group for 76 million. Whether or not that was, I'm sure it would have been tested as to whether it was a fair value, but the bottom line is they then came out their accounts. Over the 3 years, their losses came to just under 100 million, and therefore they were under the 105. You can't believe it. And again, the Premier League have been embarrassed by this, and they're looking at changing the rules. But twice now, they've been made to look very amateurish.
You know what is?
It just makes you wonder what City are going to do, because they'll look at these and think, well, if Chelsea and Leicester can get away with doing whatever they did, City will try and find a loophole themselves.
Yeah, no doubt about that. What amazes me is, we had Notts Forest and Everton lose points last year. To me, it just looks like that the lesser or smaller clubs, not that Everton are a small club, are just getting taken advantage of, where the big guys with the top lawyers can find these clauses. I think that's totally wrong.
Yeah, it is. It goes against the spirit of what the rules were meant to be. But if the rules are not drafted as tightly as maybe they should have been, then clubs, look, there's so much money at stake.
Yeah.
Obviously, Leicester may still not stay up, but had they have got the sort of points deduction like Everton got, for example, or maybe 8 points or something overall, then the chance of them staying up will probably be quite slim, and it costs them a fortune. So you can understand them fighting it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, well, talking about fighting, that's one thing Man United didn't do last week. Steve, what are the press? I've tipped Ten Hag not to get to Christmas. What does the press seem to think about the standing at Old Trafford?
Well, I think that they are... obviously now it's easy for them to go back and say, with hindsight, they made a mistake sort of keeping him on. Obviously that cup win and those beating sort of Liverpool and then going on to beat City, you'd think saved his job, but they were humiliated, really, weren't they? It wasn't that just the scoreline; it was the manner of the game, especially once Liverpool went ahead. And in the end, it could have been more. United had half chances; they probably could have pulled a couple back, but by then the game was done. And when you looked at the squad, you looked at United's bench. They basically had nothing really on there that could change the game. Yeah. So everyone was going on about Liverpool before, saying, look, they've not added any players. How are they going to compete? Yet, they did well last year with that team, so there's no reason they won't do well again. Yeah. And, in the end, it was a very convincing performance. And I think that Ten Hag's tenure is looking much dodgier than it was a week ago.
Yeah. Biggest thing that ever happened. The worst thing that happened was winning the FA Cup. It was a great result, but there's no way they could play like that. But anyway, let's see what happens. Man United, Southampton, early kick-off on Saturday. Yeah. Steve, it's international weekend, and it's always a difficult weekend to predict. But I've left out, there are games tonight. Ironically, my best bet is Northern Ireland, but I'll give you something else here, 11 to 10. One thing I do like about the international game, there's always teams that seem to have young players with something to prove, where the older experienced teams tend to rotate their players. But we'll bring the betting up, and the first game is Kazakhstan-Norway. Will Haaland start?
Well, that's a good question, because, for example, we know that England have got players that dropped out. Haaland loves scoring goals, and if he's fit, I'm sure he'll play, but Pep is probably thinking, for goodness sake, don't get injured in a game that really doesn't mean that much. But I think he may well do, or if he does, then he'll come off at some point, not long before the end. Norway should win this. I mean, they've got the players to do it. Yeah. Kazakhstan are one of the weaker teams in Europe.
Yeah, I've gone over 2.5 goals at 8 to 10. I wouldn't take Norway 4 to 10, because they may be leading, and you're guaranteed they'll take Haaland off, even though they do have another game. I think it's on Monday. Belgium-Israel. Steve, surprised that Israel have jumped into the upper echelon, but surely...
Yeah, no, they did well previously, but Belgium should be clear favourites for this. Obviously, they were just very disappointing in the Euros, and I think that they want to make a bit of a statement in the Nations League, so I would expect Belgium to win this comfortably.
Yeah, I just don't like what I see in Belgium's defence. I took a chance. I took 2-1 Belgium to win and both teams to score, but it should be a comfortable Belgium win. One of the pick games, Steve, is France, Italy. We never know what you're going to get with France, but surely they've got to be too good for Italy at home.
Well, yes, you'd think so. I mean, Italy were relatively poor in the Euros. He might sort of blood one or two new players. Wouldn't surprise me. France, we know have got a big squad. Yeah. Again, he might sort of mix and match a little bit, but you'd still think that France should be too strong. Probably one of the pick of the games of the weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. Friday night, I'll be watching that. Austin, Montenegro, Steve. How do you see that going?
Yeah, I mean, it's not Montenegro, not the strongest of sides. I'm not, it's hard to know, they could get anything there, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to trust us. They're not the team of all the sons of before, but 11-10, hard to trust. Another game, Kosovo. I like Romania, Steve. I know they were very well organised in the Euros. They didn't get to the last, or did they get to the last 16? They did, that's right. They got beat by the Netherlands, that's right. But 21-10, Steve, that's not the worst of prices.
No, that's. I looked at that, and I think that they should be favourites to win this, actually. So, Kosovo, they could probably give them a game, but if Romania play as they did in a couple of those group games, I fancy Romania to win that.
Yeah, got to agree with you. On to our second page, and we got Slovenia, Austria. Friday night, if this is on, Steve, I'll watch it. I was impressed with Austria. I know they got caught by Turkey, but they looked a decent team.
Yeah, this should be a good game. I mean, Slovenia themselves are not a poor team. They gave a good account of themselves at the Euros. But you're right. I mean, Austria. I liked Austria. They played very well in the Euros. They were called out by Turkey, but in the group they played well, and I fancied them to get a result. Yeah,
I've got a fancy 12-10 Austria, worth the nibble. Wales, Turkey. I've got a strong feeling for this team here, Steve. Who do you fancy?
Well, you wonder whether or not he'll blood one or two new players. Wales have got something to prove. I mean, having sort of really sort of missed out. Turkey played very well in the Euros, and you wonder if they can carry on that form. I think they'd be favourites, but Wales have got a lot to prove, and I think it's important to them. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they hold them.
Yeah, I fancy Turkey. I think there'll be goals in this. Yeah, that youngster Gaia is at Real Madrid. They've got some good young players. I was really impressed with them. A little bit unlucky to get knocked out by the Netherlands. I think their inexperience showed in the quarterfinals. But of the two teams, I like Turkey. But, Wales at home, passionate fan. They'll play route one, make it hard. But I'm all over Turkey. I think they'll score. I took 2-1 for them to score over 1.5 goals. The Faroe Islands, North Macedonia, Steve, tough game.
Yeah, I mean, the Faroes are not a strong side, but at home they could be tricky. Yeah. North Macedonia themselves, have been okay in recent years. So I think, for me, if there was to be a favourite, I'd probably go with North Macedonia, but I could see them cancel each other out as well. Yeah,
I went the easy way and went both teams to score at even money. Steve, I fancy Armenia to beat Latvia. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think they should be too strong for them.
Yeah, I just see they played in the group stage and they both won their home games, so 8-10 Armenia are in my bets. Another game, Steve, it should have plenty of goals, is Georgia against the Czech Republic. Which way do you see it going, though?
Yeah, I mean, Georgia were quite impressive. I mean, I think they shocked a few people in the Euros. But, I like the Czech Republic, and I think they're capable of getting a result. I think it'll be close, but if there was to be a winner, I'd err on the side of the Czechs. Yeah,
I'm all over the goals. Both teams to score over 2.5 goals. I think that's the way to go in that particular clash. On to a final page of the internationals, and it's the Republic of Ireland hosting England. Surely 5-10 is a decent price, Steve?
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, obviously, we know that a few Foden, Palmer and Watkins have pulled out of the England squad. It makes you wonder, what sort of team that Lee Carsley will play. You'll probably rotate a little bit, I think, and give a few new players the opportunity to come in the second half. So it's a game you'd expect England to win, but obviously, the Republic of Ireland haven't been anywhere near good enough in recent years, but it's a game that you'd think they'd want to be a big crowd, and I think they'd sort of raise their form. So I think it'll be close, but I think England should win it, maybe by just the odd goal in 3.
Yeah, I just think England. I had a look at the Republic of Ireland squad. Not the best of squads, You know, I just can't see them beating England. I know England were disappointing in the group stage, but always hard to beat. And if Harry Kane starts, I saw 3-1 to be first goal scorer. I thought that was interesting, and even money to score any time. He's a lot fitter now than he was in the Euros, and I think England will win. I think there'll be goals. I saw England to win in over 2.5 goals at 16-10. I thought that was worth an interest. Germany, new captain, the midfield player from Bayern Munich, his name escapes me now, I'll remember in 10 seconds, against Hungary. They beat them in the group stage, Steve. I don't see them.
I think that Germany should be too strong. I remember a couple of years ago, Hungary were very strong in the Nations League, but they've sort of gone off the boil a little bit. But I think Germany should be too strong for me, and I think they should win that.
Yeah, Kimmich is his name. He's the new captain, and they were impressive. I thought they were the second best team in the Euros. You know, Spain beat them. It was a good game. I think the Germans are slowly fighting back. A lot of good young players. I think they'll win comfortably. I saw over 2.5 goals, both teams to score no. It's 3-1, so I'll put that in a few of my bets. Greece, Finland, Steve, you fancy the Greeks?
Yeah, I think so at home. It'd be interesting to see the game because England play Finland beginning of next week. Yeah. You know, but I think away from home they don't travel that well, and I would expect Greece to be too strong for them.
I just never know with the Greeks, you know, and Finland too, not the same team as they have been, but 8-10 looks inviting. The Netherlands, surely got to be too good for Bosnia-Herzegovina?
Yes, you would think so. I mean, they're probably still smarting after their semi-final defeat to England, but they've got the squad to do it, and I would imagine that I wouldn't be surprised if they win by at least a couple of goals.
Yeah, the one thing I always do with the Netherlands, I back them to be more second half goals. They always seem to keep it tight and then make a few changes and everything opens up. So if I was having a bet in that game, back the Netherlands to score the most goals in the second half. Last but not least, a game I think there'll be goals, even though it's being played in the Czech Republic, is Ukraine against Albania.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think both teams, acquitted themselves okay in the Euros. I think that Ukraine might be just slight favourites, but I think you're right. I think there could be a few goals in that game.
Yeah, I was disappointed in the Ukraine. I backed them to go through. I backed them on their goals target. They were really disappointing. So hopefully they can sort it out. Steve, there are a few games in League One. You can see the amount of internationals with it, a lot of the lesser clubs. And there's only 3 games. And it starts off with Barnsley against Bristol Rovers. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, Barnsley should be favourites. The Bristol Rovers have not had a bad start. Barnsley, I think people were sort of tipping them as one of the teams to certainly get to the playoffs. They had a bit of a sort of a mixed bag so far this year, but I think they should, for me, I think they're probably slight favourites. Yeah,
I fancy Barnsley to win over 2.5 goals. The reason I fancy Barnsley is they've got an FA Cup clash coming up at Old Trafford. So what do you think's on the players' mind? Everybody are doing more than enough to try and get a name on that team sheet. So I'm all over Barnsley in this particular fixture. Charlton, Rotherham, Steve, how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Charlton won their first 3, lost last weekend at Reading, but I fancy them. I think they should be too strong at home, and I think those are pretty good odds for them.
Yeah, I looked at that 13-10, but they got beat by Reading. You know, I remember the guys were tipping them to have a good run, and I don't know, I took the easy way. I think there'd be goals in this, so I took 8-10, both teams to score. But Charlton wouldn't surprise me if they were the victors. And last but not least, half-line Wrexham against Shrewsbury. Steve, comfortable victory?
I think they should be. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that they've got is goal scorers, and they've acquitted. They've had 2 promotions back to back, and here they are doing well again. You know, they've got the backing to go all the way up to the championship, I think, whether this year, but in the next year or so. And they had a big win last week at Peterborough, really good win. So I fancy them to, I mean, they are short odds, but I think that's because I think they're going to be too strong.
Yeah, I contemplated which way to go, whether to back them to win on the -1 handicap at 13-10, but they concede goals. So I went Wrexham to win and both teams to score at 22-10. Steve, you've been on fire with your picks. I need your best bet and value bet, please.
Yeah, trickier this week.
Yeah.
My best bet, I'm going to go for Charlton. I think those are decent odds at home.
Yeah.
They've won both their previous home games. And my value bet, I'm going for Romania. I think that those are pretty good odds for a team who acquitted themselves well against the Euros against a much weaker side.
Yeah, well, I said my best bet was Northern Ireland, but it's Thursday, so I'm going to brass said it was 7.5 to 10 France, Steve. I can't see them losing to Italy, and I'm going to chance the Turks to get a result in Wales. I liked what I see. It won't be an easy game. I contemplated Romania, but I'm siding with Turkey at 17 to 10. Steve, thanks as always, and we'll speak to you over the weekend.
Yeah, cheers, Budge. Bye.
Stevie B, our UK correspondent. There are also Africa Cup of Nations group games, so the betting I only took from one side, so just bear in mind as far as the betting odds go. But it starts on Friday with Kenya against Zimbabwe, and this will be a tight game, even though the betting seems to fancy Kenya. Just having a look at their World Cup qualifying form, and Kenya have only got one victory from their 4, and they drew both games at home. Zimbabwe are in South Africa's group, haven't fared away from home too well, so it should be Kenya and the draw. I'm all over DR Congo to get a result. They've got the Visa, the Brentford striker up front, and even though Guinea are competitive, I think 7 at 10, the Congolese should be a good thing. South Africa, Uganda, we've got to go with our Bafana members. Yeah, they're playing at Orlando Stadium. It'll be a tight game, so I would go South Africa to win and under 2.5 goals. I saw 12 to 10, so that'll have my money. Morocco, one of the better teams in Africa, should surely outclass Gabon. The -1 handicap, I saw 9 to 10, so that's what I'll be taking. And Egypt as well. The Cape Verde, who gave South Africa a hard game in the Nations when we beat them on penalties, they will be competitive. But if Mo Salah starts for Egypt, how can you not back the Pharaohs? On to our second page in Ivory Coast, the AFCON holders in great form at home against Zambia, who are not the same team as they were. They've lost both of their away qualifiers, the World Cup that is. 1-3 Ivory Coast looks a gift. While Mali, poor World Cup qualifiers, and Mozambique have had a great start. They won both of their away games, and they've won 3 of their 4 qualifiers. Both teams to score to me looks the right way to go. I haven't seen the odds on that particular bet, but that's the way. Hard to see Mali losing, but win and draw, Mali looks the right way. But even money, I think it would be both teams to score. Senegal, another powerhouse. I saw Mane and the regular crew at home. Burkina Faso, always competitive, but away from home, not as much. So 1-3, Senegal looks a gift. And so does Cameroon. Hard to beat at home against Namibia. The odds 1-5. They give it away. Well, Nigeria, they have Finidi George. They've replaced their manager, and they've had a disastrous World Cup campaign. They are in Bafana's group, and they've taken 3 points from their 4 games. It's panic station. So 1-6 to beat Benin looks an absolute gift for me. On to our soccer exotics for the weekend, and we start off with our soccer 6. And I'm going win and draw Barnsley at home against Bristol Rovers. Going Charlton Athletic, win and draw at home against Rotherham. Harrogate Town, win and draw at Cheltenham. I'm going Chesterfield, win and draw at home against Grimsby Town. Doncaster Rovers, win and draw at home against Gillingham, and Notts County to outplay and beat Accrington Stanley 192. On to our second soccer 6 for the weekend. I'm going Armenia to be too good for Latvia. Georgia and the Czech Republic, I'm going the field in that particular clash. I'm going Mauritania, win and draw at home against Botswana. Banking Moldova to beat Malta. Greece, win and draw at home against Finland in the field in the Ukraine-Albania match 2-1-6. On to our soccer 10 for Saturday. I'm banking Armenia to beat Latvia. Georgia against Czech Republic, I'm going to field in that fixture. Mauritania win and draw at home against Botswana, alongside Moldova win and draw at home against Malta. And I'm banking Nigeria to be too strong at home for Benin. On to the second page, I'm banking England to beat the Republic of Ireland, Germany to beat Hungary, Greece win and draw at home against Finland, the Ukraine win and draw against Albania in the field. In the USA versus Canada game, 288 Rand. On to Saturday's Soccer 13. I'm banking Germany to beat Hungary, the Netherlands to beat Bosnia-Herzegovina, England to be too strong at the Republic of Ireland, Greece win and draw at home against Finland, the Ukraine win and draw against Albania, siding with the Czech Republic to avoid defeat in Georgia, and Armenia to be too good at home against Latvia. On to our second page, I'm bankering Moldova to beat Malta, Barnsley win and draw at home against Bristol Rovers, and Charlton Athletic win and draw at home against Rotherham United, Wrexham to be too good at home against Shrewsbury Town, and 2 away win and draws. I'm going Walsall at MK Dons and Port Vale. Win and draw at Newport County, £256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. I'm going Belgium to beat Israel and both teams to score yes. I'm going Austria to beat Slovenia, France to beat Italy, and over 2.5 goals in the Kazakhstan-Norway game, 4,000 to 200. Our Saturday Nations League bet, I'm going England to beat the Republic of Ireland and over 2.5 total goals. I'm going Armenia to beat Latvia and over 2.5 goals in the Georgia-Czech Republic and Ukraine versus Albania fixtures, 3,600 to 200. Team goals only, I'm going Turkey, England, Georgia and Germany all to score over 1.5 goals, 3,800 to 200. Both teams to score sides are Wales, Turkey, Faroe Islands, North Macedonia, Georgia, Czech Republic, and the Ukraine against Albania, 2,800 to 200. The set of fixtures in the English League One, I'm going Barnsley to beat Bristol Rovers and over 2.5 total goals, and both teams to score in the Charlton Rotherham United fixture, and Wrexham to beat Shrewsbury Town and both teams to score yes, 2,900 to 200. Collis King, 6 or Nexa, I'm going Belgium to beat Israel, France to beat Italy, England to beat the Republic of Ireland, Germany to beat Hungary, Barnsley to beat Bristol Rovers, and Wrexham to beat Shrewsbury Town, 2,200 to 200. Guys, that's our show for the week. Please remember all the guys in our posted last one standing that I need your picks as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'm going to have to give you the team that's highest in the league that you haven't already used. Guys, have a great weekend, and please remember to stay onside.